Hi, I'm Kimberly Jentzen. I'm going to share with you a video that I did a few years ago. It's with Cristina Fadale. She was on Broadway with Rent. She played Maureen. Without further ado, this is Cristina Fadale. She worked with me, yay! Years ago, still works with me. Tell me a little about your training.
I mean, I started when I was about 9 years old, and I really didn't have training at that point. Like, I was just doing children's theater and anything that I could possibly do, begging my mom to take me everywhere. Once I was in high school, pretty much my whole drive was theater. And of course my high school had no theater department. So I found there was a dance studio down by where I lived, and I started doing work study. So I'd get free classes, so I'd dance every day, get voice lessons there, and that was like I was eating, sleeping, and breathing performing. I didn't really study acting formally until later. Actually, I didn't really study acting until I got into college as a psychology major to make my parents happy. And then after my first semester, I was like, I don't want to do this. And I switched to be a theater major. So I started really studying acting in college. And then that's when I started to come to Kimberly outside of school to study acting. So I continued doing all of my voice and dance and all that stuff outside of school, and then I added Kimberly into the mix.
I remember these days. I remember how much fun it was. I remember you trained with me also when I was over in Toluca Lake.
Oh yeah, we used to, because I remember some stuff was at your house, but then you also had, there was the studio, where was that? We used to go to a theater, it was tiny.
The Whitefire Theater?
Yes, yes.
She thinks the Whitefire Theater is tiny. In LA, it's a big theater.
It's tiny. But I know for LA it is, yes. You're right. But yeah.
It's a 99-seater.
Yeah.
So tell us about all of the work that you were doing before and how you got to Broadway. Tell us that road.
I mean, pretty much I had tunnel vision since I was a kid. It was like, that's all I wanted to do. And I knew that I had to work hard to get there. So, you know, like I said, I would just continue to train and train and train. Rent had come out in '96, and I heard the music, and I was like, I want to do that. And I remember coming in here with Kimberly, and we had to set goals, and it was like, wait, and that was my goal. They'd come to LA, and my agent would send me for auditions, and I'd go in and sing, and I'd be so frustrated because I wasn't getting anywhere. And I remember one time the casting director, I got up and I did my deal, and she's like, so what, you can sing. And I was just like, oh my God, you know? And I left there, I felt so deflated, and I was like, this is, you know, and then I'd hear other people too, like, who'd go in, and they're like, yeah, I got a call back, and I'm like, what? Like, no way, you can't, like, you're not even a good singer. Like, it was so frustrating for me. So I remember coming in here, and I think it was at your old house, and we were in the living room there. You had this area, and I was just telling Kimberly, I'm like, I need to work on this, and I want this so bad. So we worked on, you know, every time I'd go in, it was the same sides and everything. So we worked on it and worked on it and worked on it. And I remember the time I was in Germany working. I was doing a show over there called Fame, and I came home for like a week hiatus, and my agent called me. He's like, the Red people want to see you again. And I said, tell them to go bleep themselves. And because I was pissed at that point. I was like, what do they want from me? Like, I've given them everything, and I just felt like they just constantly were, you know, just shutting me down. So he's like, you have to go. And I'm like, fine, I'm gonna go. So I went, and it was interesting because I think my issue was that I wanted it so bad that I think I reeked of desperation for wanting it. And when I went in, I had a job. I didn't need their job. I was over it, and I knew I was good, and I was like, you know what, like, you guys are missing the boat on me. And I kind of just, I didn't, I mean, it wasn't a bad attitude, but I went in there, and I was like, I'm just going to do my deal, and it's almost like the mic drop, right? I went in, and I was like, I'm out. And I remember walking out of there, and I was like, I booked that job. And I flew back to Germany, and within a week, I got a phone call that I booked the job. And I was elated, and I remember being in my hotel and running through the like lobby screaming. So I mean, and actually I started off on the road, so I didn't go directly to New York with the show. I actually started off as a swing. So I covered 5 tracks, and I covered all the ensemble women in the show, including the seasoned soloist and Maureen. And so that was such an incredible challenge. And I don't know, I mean, you guys do musicals, and if you understand what that is like to have to know 5 tracks in your brain, and you get thrown on stage at any given time, and you have to know who you are, where you're supposed to stand, what you're supposed to say, your different harmonies, if there's different harmonies in the music, that it's crazy. So that was an incredible challenge, and I only did that for 3 months, and I had an amazing stage manager who, when you're on the road, basically the director's not always there. The stage manager teaches you the show, and the dance captain, and he's like, you shouldn't be doing this. He's like, you should be playing Maureen. And I was like, I wish, God. And so I got a phone call. I was in Baltimore, and they're like, you're going to go on the train to New York tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay, why? They're like, you're going to audition. And I'm like, what? I already work for you people. What do you mean I'm going to audition again? So I got on the train, and they sent me to New York, and I had never been to New York before. And it was pretty cool. And so I went, and I went in, and this time I went in, and they had, all the same people there again. It was just like, oh, hi, it's so nice to see you again. And then I went back, and then the next day they called me, and they were like, we're going to move you now to the other touring company, and you're going to play Maureen. So I was on the road for a whole year. So 3 months as a swing, and then 9 months as Maureen. And I got really lucky. I started off with a different Joanne, and then they brought this other girl in, and we were just like, we were on fire together, and it was a really cool thing. It was just, the chemistry was amazing. And when I was in Chicago was my last city, but I forget which city I was in before that, but I got my agent had called me, and he's like, they're offering you the Broadway contract.
I was in Chicago when that happened.
But it was in Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I remember you came to Chicago, but okay, yeah.
So awesome.
And they took me and Danielle, the girl playing Joanne, they took us as a couple to New York together. And it was, obviously it was a dream come true for me. It was kind of what I wanted all my life, was to be in New York and be on stage. And it was amazing. I got there, and I don't want to say it was a long road, because I feel really fortunate. I literally graduated from school and I started working, so I cannot complain. And but it was a long road in the sense that it was a dream that I had as a little girl that I kept, working towards the whole way until it finally happened.
I remember you telling me way back that they really test you on Broadway, like when.
Well, it's not. It's interesting. It's more even just the dynamic and the people, because theater's interesting and different than doing TV and film, because there's always someone waiting in the wings, and not to say that that's a bad thing, but there's always this sort of thing in your head, like I can be replaced, or someone wants to replace me, or if I don't do a good job, I'm gonna, so it's an interesting dynamic when you walk into a situation, and also not knowing the situation, not knowing, well, what happened to the person that I'm replacing? Did they decide to leave? Were they not asked back? And then there's those relationships they have with the other people in the cast. So you walk into interesting dynamics all the time, and everybody, is kind of standing there looking at you like, what do you got? What do you bring to the table? And it's almost like they're waiting to see, like, are you good? Are you gonna cut the mustard here? Or are you, or are we gonna be like, So it is. It's like you almost have to prove yourself among your peers, and so that's always an interesting dynamic. Even on the road, though. I felt that way on the road, though, too. Because everyone's so tight-knit. These people, you are with them constantly. 8 shows a week. You are with these people. You're a dysfunctional, bizarre family. And there's relationships and breakups and dramas, and, people get along, they don't get along. And, so it's a really interesting, bizarre dynamic.
What kept you focused?
Wow. I just, I just had this incredible drive that to succeed, and there was nothing that was going to get in my way of succeeding. And I knew that I had a responsibility to, like, I think what I look at now is I look back and I think, you know, nothing comes easy. And if you think things are going to come easy, you're sorely mistaken. And I think what kept me driven was that you always have to be better. Even if you think you're great, or people are telling you you're so great, God, you're so talented, you're wonderful, you can always be better. And there's never an end to it. There's always something to learn. There's always, you know, you're going to grow in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's what kind of kept me going, because I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm good, but I can be way better. Or you see someone else and they inspire you, and you're like, oh my God, I want to be like that. Or so it was always just this continued need and drive to, like, better myself and continue to be better, that kept me kind of, you know, with blinders. Like, my whole life revolved around this. Like, there was nothing. I mean, you know, I mean, it's just everything you do. I mean, and everyone's like, oh, did you go out and party and do this? I'm like, nope. I had to sing 8 shows a week. I did not drink. I did not, you know, like, that was it. It was like, this is my life. This is my focus to do this. And I'm so fortunate to be given the opportunity. I'm not going to screw it up. So it was just wanting to do good and be better.
Tell me something strange or off or crazy that happened when you were working on the show. Anything crazy happen on set, or I mean on stage?
I mean, there's always stuff. You know, a really funny story was one of the guys who played Roger got on stage at the very beginning of the show, and he's literally on the stage for a really long time, doesn't get to come off stage, and puts his leg up and his pants ripped from, like, front to back seam, and he had no underwear on. So, and of course, we're all down in the green room, right, downstairs in the basement, and everyone's like, oh my God, his pants ripped, and everybody's like running upstairs to go, like, look in the wings, and they're like, everybody's peering around. And so poor guy, like, he took off his sweatshirt and just wrapped it around his waist, and you just keep going, you know, and you just got to keep going. I mean, things happen all the time, and you just got to keep going.
Did everybody get a shot of that, the audience?
I mean, I think some people knew, some people didn't, but, you know, you just got to play it off and, you know, figure it out until they finally could come off stage. But everybody, the whole cast was in the wings, just like, yeah, it was pretty funny.
Anything happen to you?
No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Anything happened to me? Not in particular. I mean, not that I can really remember. I remember when I left the show, when I left the tour, there's in La Vie Boheme, I pull my pants down and moon, like, 2 characters, and my makeup guy wrote on my butt, like, you know, see ya suckers, you know, like, just stuff like that. More shenanigans that, you know, go on, but no, nothing ever.
So the audience had to see that too, huh?
They probably did, yeah. And you know what's funny is, like, a show like that, when people, they all kind of know what's going, like, you know, the real fans would know what's going on, like, they were, like, in on the, you know, stuff. Or when it's your last show, or, like, you know, when I left Broadway, you know, all your little fans who come all the time, like, they know, and, you know, it's just kind of like this sort of heightened experience, because it's a heightened experience for you, because it's the last time you're going to do it, and then, you know, they're feeling that too, and they know, and, you know, so.
How was that for you when you knew it was your last show?
It was my last show twice. I left, and then they sucked me back in, and then I left again. But it was really emotional. You know, I have to say that getting to do that particular piece of art is incredible, because I feel like it's such an amazing piece of work. I just loved how real everything is in that show and the script and what it had to offer. So it was very emotional. You know, everything gets heightened. You know, it's like you're standing there and you knowing this is the last time I'm going to be standing here doing this. This is the last time I'm going to do this. You know, in your head, it's like the last time I'm doing this, and it just, it's interesting. I mean, it definitely, and in the cast too, everybody else is emotional too, because they know that you're not going to be there tomorrow, or so. Yeah.
Anybody you admire in the audience that came out and said hello?
Oh God, there's so many people. I remember one time we were we collect for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, and I was out there with my bucket, trying to collect money, and someone was like, Susan Sarandon's here, and I was like, oh my God! There was like trying to run backstage. There were so many people that came through, gosh. One of my favorites at the time was Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake together.
Yeah.
And it cracked me up. She's like, oh my God, you guys are so good! But yeah, there were so many cool celebrities that came by.
Of all the tools that I have given you, what's the strongest thing that you used?
I mean, something I think is really valuable and easy to kind of just pick up quickly is the emotions. I mean, really nailing those and knowing how to go through them is really important and key, I think. I also just think like really being in the moment and listening, you know, really listening. I think that's something that people forget because you're worrying like about what's my next line and, you know, where am I supposed to go, or what, you know, it was really just listening and taking it in, really taking it in and hearing what someone's saying to you, letting it affect you, and then responding.
Did you ever get, like, were you ever over it when you went on stage, like, by the
No, you know what? No, and that's the thing. That's, no, never, ever. I loved it, and I think that if you are over it, then you need to say goodbye, and you need to move on. Because I feel like it's not fair. There's so many people who want to be there. If you don't want to be there, don't be there. And, you know, if you're not being fair to the material, and you're not, then, you know, people pay a lot of money to put their butts in those seats. And you want to give them the experience that they're paying for. So yeah. But no, when I left, I was ready to go. But now, see, now I'm getting hot. I think here's something that's interesting, and it's something that I learned is you have to go with the momentum. And I stopped my momentum, I think, and I did it more than once, like a moron. And I think my agent should have pushed me, and he should have kind of sat me down and put his foot down with me. But I was young and dumb. And now, granted, I'm in the place where I'm supposed to be right now, and my life took whatever course it took, and that is what it is. But you know, I feel like you gain momentum, and you have to keep going with the momentum. And you know, if I was meant to, you know, I just think to myself of the other opportunities and things that would have sort of probably like the domino effect, because I saw it happen for people around me who were in the same situation in a way as myself. So yeah, I think that's an important thing to remember is, you know, if you are really, you know, like I knew that they really liked me over at Rent, and I was an asset to them, and I should have had more faith in myself that I would have been fine. I think part of me was scared too. I let fear, which is the big thing with Kimberly, is the whole fear thing, is I let fear rule me, because I was like, oh, this is a good job, and I have a contract here, and I'm making good money, and if I go do this, and, you know, what if, well, you know, what if, you know, so, yeah.
You have to take risks.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it was momentum that got you into Rent.
It absolutely was. It was, yeah. Yeah. I wish I would have let myself be more uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is where you want to live.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it sounds weird,
No.
but that's where you want to live. When you think about musicals and you think about stuff, it's either propelling the story to move forward, or it's giving an explanation for something. So you got to know what you're saying and why you're saying it, and who you're talking to, and what it's all about. It's so incredibly important. Otherwise, it just sounds pretty. I mean, because you want to evoke emotion in someone. You know, sitting there listening, and yeah, it sounds pretty, but you want them to be able to let it resonate, and they can be touched by that. I think that's why, like, stuff like Next to Normal, I was just like, the lyrics are crazy, amazing what she's saying and talking about, and then, you know, you hear it with the strings and the this and that, and then the whole thing comes together, and you're like, you're blown away. So it's essential to, you know, you got to act while you're singing. They have to go together. Otherwise, it just, so what, you can sing. We used to throw shoes at each other. When people would do stuff that was really, really good on stage, people would take off their shoe and throw it. When you'd walk off stage, they'd throw their shoe at you. I'm serious. Yeah, we used to throw shoes at each other in a loving way. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. You'd be like, oh, stop it. It's so good. Take your shoe off and throw it at you. Yeah. You know who was that? Do you guys know who Karen Olivo is? Like, she won the Tony for West Side Story. She played Anita. I did rent with her for a really long time, and she is one of the most talented people. And she's doing Hamilton right now in Chicago. She was the best with the shoes. She was hysterical. Like, she would come up and find you. It was like all of a sudden you're like, oh, and she's like, stop singing so good. That was amazing. Or like, you know, your performance. And yeah, it was our weird thing.
Which one was easier for you, singing or acting?
I mean, I think singing always kind of was sort of like, I just always loved it. And like the acting was more like a process. So I don't want to say that I liked singing more than acting, because that's not necessarily the case. I just think it came before the other one for me. Because they're the same. To me, it's one and the same. I mean, sometimes it sounds so silly, but like I'll make myself cry in the middle of a song. You know what I mean? Because like I'm feeling it. I'm so feeling it, and then it's like, okay, you can never do that on stage, or you can never do that in a performance, because you have to be able to sing through, you know, but it just has to be a controlled, I know it sounds silly, but like a controlled cry. I mean, I cried all the time in Rent, performing that show, all the time. But it wasn't like you know when you start to want to sob and it's just like, it's like, yeah, you can't get to that point. It can't be out of control, really. I mean, it's the same thing like on camera. I mean, it's the struggle. It's like, you know, nobody wants to cry. Nobody wants to cry, right? And so it's like that fighting, you're crying, you don't want to be crying, you know what I mean? So trying to stop yourself or controlling yourself from crying.
Reality of people backbiting or talking about you or trying to put bad press out there. I mean, is that a reality? I guess I should start there.
People, even like, you think about, you know, when I was on the road, every city we'd have someone come in and review the show. Every time you go somewhere, right? Some people may like you and some people may not like you. You have to be confident and comfortable in what you're doing. And it's one person's opinion. So what? You know what I mean? It's just one person's opinion. You wouldn't be there doing it if someone thought you sucked. So that was always my philosophy, but I never got bad reviews. No, I'm kidding. I'm so kidding. But when it comes to people, I think you just have to believe in what you're doing and believe in yourself. And like I said, it goes back to just be nice. I mean, just try to get along with everybody and just be nice. You know, there's only one person that I could not get along with. And it wasn't me. It just wasn't. Like, it was just like, this person, I can't. And I had to just finally say to myself, I just need to, like, shut it down and, you know, not try. And I had to share a dressing room with this person for a while. It was tough. It was really tough. But I just had to be like, all right, Cristina, just, again, stay focused on why you're here and what you're doing. And if this person's going to be all crazy, that needs to happen over there. But over here, because literally our dressing rooms were like the size of that table. 2 people doing their makeup, that close, teeny, like tiny. I kid you not, I think my dressing room was tiny. And everybody shared. You didn't have your own dressing room. So I had my own bathroom though, which was fabulous. Not everybody had their own toilet or shower. They had to share. But you just have to figure it out. And because you have to be professional. And as a person who's not being professional, you don't want to be that person.
That's really great. So what's the difference between professional and somebody who isn't professional?
Well,
I'm sure you saw a lot of that.
I experienced it. You know, I heard this. I'm not going to say names, but this person came at me like about some stupidity about our dressing room as I'm coming off stage. And I was just like, this is not the time to have this conversation with me. If you want to talk about this, we can talk about it after the show. End of story. You don't do that during the middle of a show. No. Or one time, I remember in La Vie Boheme, I'd go down the table and then I'd kiss a girl at the end of the table. And this girl thought she was always like kind of like a little puppy dog all the time with me, and it was really cute and sweet, but I was just like, ugh. And she like stuck her tongue down my throat one show. And after the show was over, I knocked on her dressing room and I said to her, I'm like, don't ever do that to me again. I said, that's not okay. And she's like, I was just messing around. I'm like, no, that's being childish and unprofessional. You don't do that. You have to respect the people that you're on stage with. You don't do that. And she just thought it was funny, and I didn't think it was funny. So, I mean,
Did she have a crush on you? Is that why she did it?
no, I mean, like, she doesn't even like girls. I think she had like sort of like a weird crush on me in a different way. Do you know what I mean? And she just thought she was being funny and cute.
Like a
And it's like,
fangirl
no,
type thing?
huh?
Like a fangirl type of
Yeah, but she was in the show with me. But she always looked up to me. When she was younger and very new and really like green and super excited, and it was just like you don't do that.
Right.
You don't do that.
Oh, different kind of crush.
I have
Whatever
talent
that is.
crushes like no
Yeah.
other.
Huh?
Talent crushes.
I have a total girl crush on Wonder Woman.
That's incredible.
Holy moly! I want to be her. She's a badass.
I love
Wonder Woman or Gal
Woman.
Gadot?
Or both.
I loved that movie.
Yeah, I liked
Wasn't
it a lot.
amazing?
Yeah.
It was so great.
Major girl power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other professional, non-professional? Those are really good examples.
I think, like I said earlier, I think to show that you're an utmost professional is understand and know that just because you're the one that's on stage doesn't mean that everybody else isn't important. And I think that's so key. It's for theater, especially. I mean, even in doing film and television. I mean, like, everyone is there. Everyone, if you didn't have that person or that person, it doesn't work. Period. So I think it's important that you understand and respect everybody's role on and off stage, on and off camera when you're working. When I was on the road, Michael, it was the first time he came to see me actually do Maureen. And he hadn't seen me do it, like, on stage. I'd auditioned for him, but he'd never seen me do the whole show. And they just colored my hair. And my hair was, like, a little shorter than this, but it was, like, brown with, like, it was the late 90s. Big blonde chunk in the front. And anyways, they just done my hair, and he comes to my dressing room, knocks on the door. Hi, can I talk to you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I don't like this. Talking about my hair. And I was like, okay. And he's like, we need to, he wanted it changed. So it was fine. I mean, I wasn't thrilled that all of a sudden he wanted me to be totally blonde, like platinum. And I was just like, ugh. Okay. I mean, they have the right to do whatever they wanted to do with my hair. So what was I going to say? What was I going to do, right? So they took me to the guy who was our hair and makeup guy on the road. He's like, I don't feel comfortable doing it. So he took me to the salon. They destroyed my hair. I looked like a Q-tip.
I remember this.
I looked like a frickin' Q-tip. Like, my hair was like cotton candy. It was just falling out. It was awful. Like, it was so stripped. They couldn't even put they couldn't do anything else. They're like, we just need to let it go. Like, I was devastated. And I have the most hilarious pictures. Like, now I look back and I laugh, but I was devastated over my hair. Because I'm like, oh my God, I have to go on stage and look like this. Like, I felt so awful. So I was very upset. And so then I called my agent and I'm like, they can't, like, no. I'm like, this is so bad. So I went through it in professional sort of a channel and like let him step in and deal with it for me. I wasn't going to go in and fight that battle. And so what they had is they changed a clause in my contract that they had to send me to, obviously when I was on the road after, it was like, you can't, that's it. Like, 'cause my hair was like done. It was like, you can't do anything. They put like a vegetable dye in it and it went black because it was so porous. So then they weren't allowed to do anything. And then after when I went to New York, I made sure I had it in my contract that I got to go where I wanted to go and they paid for it because I didn't want some crazy like rando person doing my hair Because, you know, I mean, and I have to live with it every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have to go live my life outside of here looking like that. I was mortified.
Did you wear a wig during the show?
No, Michael will not. He is, again, he was very, because like, I remember I was like, why do I have to be blonde? Like, this is so stupid. I'll wear a wig. And then he's like, no. He's very about reality. And I get it. But yeah.
But then, after that happened, was he okay with the hair, like, being...
I think he understood. Boo-boo. It wasn't his fault, right? He didn't do it to me. But he still wanted me to be blonde. And once my hair could withstand doing something to it, then we did. But I made sure that it was getting done by someone that, you know, I think they took me to some random guy, like, in New Orleans. Like, they didn't know who this person was, right? Out of nowhere. And you know, all my friends came to visit me there, and they were like, hi.
Did you say your hair was, like, dyed recently before that?
Yeah. It was so taxed. Yeah. So, yes. But, and then I was like, I will never go blonde again after I finished Rent, and I have. I have.
So everything professionally, you know, in how you deal with people, when you talk to them,
Right.
who you know.
How you go about it. Like, you know, I mean, if you're upset about something, you gotta calm and, like, let it simmer. You know, you don't want to ever, and even in especially in this business, you don't want to burn bridges. You don't want to, you know, have anybody have a bad taste in their mouth when they think about you, when your name comes up, or, you know, you always want people to go, oh, you know, and have like a nice little happy thought that, you know, when they hear your name.
That's like the best advice ever.
I mean, you should be like that in life, period. I'm all about, I mean, you know, I feel like what you put out in the world comes back to you, so I try real hard. Getting to experience emotions is really cool. Don't laugh at me, but sometimes, like, I dig, just like, I'll sit and listen to music and I'll just like cry like a freaking baby. I'm like, you know, but it's not in a bad way. It's, I'm experiencing something. I'm having an experience. I always tell this to my son. In life is not about things. Life is about people, experiences, and relationships. That's what life is about. And if you can follow those three things, I truly believe that you will be happy. Those are the things that are important. It's not stuff. And to me, especially like children and young people nowadays are so consumed with, they just want to collect things. I like to collect people. I collect people. I like to collect experiences. I for charity, I rappelled 17 stories down a building for Special Olympics. Yeah, in Long Beach. And I have never rappelled in my life. And my friend was like, you got to do this with me. And I'm like, okay. And I did it. And it was freaking amazing. And the scariest thing on the face of the universe. But it was amazing. And now I can go, I did that. I did that. That was like climbing over the edge of that building when they were like, okay, sit back and now climb. I'm like, okay. And we went down tandem together. But that's what life is about, that kind of stuff. And coming in here and doing all this stuff, and like Kimberly always talks about being fearless, that's what it's about. Because it's those little nuggets that you're going to get from having those experiences that are going to stay with you for the rest of your life.
I'm Kimberly Jentzen. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe.